Hi there guys, welcome to my seminar on skills and capacities, where I'll be looking at movement strategies adopted by two of my athletes in two separate sports skills and the reason they have adopted these strategies. So the first sports skill I chose to analyse was the power clean. This is a university athlete, an American football university athlete more specifically, and this athlete has a fair bit of experience in strength training, but had limited experience as far as Olympic lifting was concerned. This was one of his first times trying the power clean. So if I take the skill from a gross perspective, probably the most easiest thing to notice is that the athlete adopts a single pull model where there's just one large pull from the floor and essentially a lack of a transition phase and a lack of a power position to get the bar into the rack position. So if we slow the video down, I think there's one thing I can pick out that seems to be the main reason why the technical model is different from the two-pole model. And that being similar to what we saw in Dan's lecture, the athlete is pulling the bar very fast from the floor straight away. So you can see when he gets to his hips are so far behind the bar that there is little hope that he's actually going to be able to produce a triple extension movement effectively to propel the bar upwards. And as such, the only option he's left with is essentially to use his arms to get the bar into position. I think another observation I made was actually, again, looking at slow motion analysis, the athlete starts pulling from the arms very, very early. So as soon as the bar essentially either below or just slightly above the knee, you can see them start to bend and him start to use his upper body essentially to just pull the bar into position. I think this is quite a good example of where, because the athlete has a lack of expertise with the technical model, he's simply using the capacities that he feels he has most access to, or in the position that he feels he needs to get into is the most accessible to him, even though it may seem that it's not going to be efficient, where if I was to put double the weight on the bar, it's unlikely that he'd be able to use the same strategy. The next video I have here is of one of my athletes performing a falling start. So the athlete in question here is 14 years old, and he's had a year's worth of quality strength and conditioning experience. So the athlete in this instance was given cues to try and stay as low as possible in terms of adopting a 45-degree body angle. As you can see, he's struggling to maintain that position. While I definitely think there's elements of the technical model that need to be addressed with this athlete, I think the main reason is that this particular athlete simply just not strong enough to adopt that position. He's not able to produce enough force so that he's able to stop himself from falling from the floor, but also produce enough force to produce horizontal movement. So as such, he's having to almost break at his spine, and that's the way he's coping by the demands that have been placed on him. If I change the constraints of the task, the athlete's able to maintain a much stronger position because gravity is not having as much of an effect on him as he's being supported by the sled, which is stopping him from falling to the floor. And most of the force he's producing can be directed towards horizontal movement. Although I've presented these examples in an oversimplified way, said that one is purely skill-based and one is a capacity-based issue, I don't think it's ever quite as simple as this, and it depends on the athlete, the skill in question, the sport, and even the time that you analyse it, depending on whether there is a skill or a capacity issue. And I think it comes down to us as coaches to really understand deeply the skill, the nature of the skill, what is required, what are the determinants, and what's going to improve performance for that particular athlete, and even, like I say, in that particular moment or time. And I think the relationship is so close that it will even determine what sort of adaptation you get. So, as an example, depending on how you perform a skill, or let's say a training exercise, will determine the sort of adaptation you get, the muscles that are stressed, and so forth. And vice versa, depending on what capacities you have, will be obviously dictate what sort of performance you have of a specific skill.